Faces and heels. Peanut butter and jelly. Sprite and Oreos at a slumber party. Sometimes in life, pairings just work so well together you cannot question them. You can't. But in wrestling, even though that pairing of face and heel is truly magical, it's not an exact science. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, especially when each of those wrestlers are playing for the wrong teams. And I don't mean that sexually. Sometimes a heel will turn face and it might fall flat, but ultimately, no one really cares. Now, interestingly, on the flip side, a face might turn heel, and that can be very painful to watch in some cases. Whether it's the timing, the way they turn, the storylines they have to work with, or some combination of the three, a heel turn can sometimes be an absolute train wreck. And this week on Wrestling with Regret, I'm going to rank them the top 8 worst heel turns of all time. Let's begin. Number 8. Sable. Even though she was a black hole of talent and charisma, Sable was undoubtedly the biggest drawing female for much of the WWF's Attitude Era. A woman beloved by practically every red-blooded American male, her popularity peaked with a record-breaking spread in Playboy magazine. Sable was a part of the American mainstream. It was such a foolproof formula, yet if there's one thing that all the years of being a fan has taught me, it's that WWE has an uncanny knack for screwing up even the most basic of good things. Sable allegedly had a big ego behind the scenes, so in 1999, Vince's McMahon and Russo changed her character into a stuck-up diva in an attempt to punish her. The timing was terrible, in large part due to her issue of Playboy coming out just prior. Think of all the other women in WWE who have posed for Playboy over the years. Your Tori Wilsons, your Candice Michelles, your Ashley Massaros, yes, even Chyna. They were all huge baby faces when their spreads were published. It's simple marketing. You don't want to have your biggest female representative be a bitch on screen. Who wants to pleasure themselves to that? Oh, don't even act like you read Playboy for the articles, okay? Upon turning heel, Sable's next storyline was with Tori, a woman who was portrayed as an obsessed fan, but Sable rejected Tori's adulation, leading to a championship match at WrestleMania 15. Only in wrestling can a stalker character be portrayed as the good guy. Oh, it took him another 7 years to get that angle right. Her popularity squandered, Sable left the WWF a couple months later after losing the Women's Championship to Deborah. A move that might have made sense if the timing were better, Sable's heel turn will go down as one of the worst of all time. Number 7. Michael Cole. I will say Michael Cole was a very good heel and fans really hated him, so in essence he did his job, but should he have even been a heel to begin with? Cole isn't a wrestler, he isn't a manager, he's not even a color commentator, he's a play-by-play guy. Not only that, in WWE, he is the play-by-play guy. He's the voice of WWE. He's omnipresent, he is constant. His voice is what you hear throughout 90% of every broadcast not called NXT. He is essentially the gatekeeper of the company for the fans, someone who needs to be a good public face for the company. So why on earth would you intentionally have him be one of the most annoying, douchiest human beings on the planet?
You could have all of this.
As an announcer, your primary goal is to create a welcoming environment for the TV audience. You can be passionate and have a character, sure, but Cole would showcase this character at the expense of the entire product.
I think you should just take a hike, because you know that the whole wide world wants to be like Mike.
The heat Cole had during this time was not some ordinary, you're a bad guy, so rules dictate I boo you kind of heat. No. This was classic, you are a blight on this company and I need you off my television now kind of heat. You know, all these years, I think X-Pac has gotten a bad rep. I think from now on, if anyone wants to talk about X-Pac heat, they should really be calling it Michael Cole heat. The worst part about this run was it didn't even end at the proper time. They had the audacity to have Cole defeat Jerry Lawler at WrestleMania 27. If Lawler had won that match, that alone would have been enough to move the show from my 7th worst WrestleMania of all time to, I don't know, my 8th? Number 6. The Big Show. Which heel turn? Oh, I don't know, gosh, how about all of them? Number 5. AJ Styles. Hey Ric Flair, what's up? Not much, AJ Styles. It's 2010 and I'm debuting in TNA. But Rick, you're retired. What is there for you to do? Do you want to be the new Nature Boy, even though it completely goes against everything you are as a person? Hot dog, yes? At Genesis 2010, Ric Flair helped AJ Styles retain the TNA World title. It was a moment that was eerily similar to when Flair joined up with Triple H back in 2002, but even WWE weren't so crass as to make the game Ric Flair version 2.0. It wasn't necessarily bad that Flair was managing a mini-me in TNA, it was who he was managing. In real life, AJ Styles is the antithesis of Ric Flair in just about every way. He's a good, soft-spoken Christian man who loves his wife and family, yet here he was on Impact gallivanting with other women. Who was this guy? A Styles heel turn was not inherently a bad thing. Flair Jr. would go on to hold the belt for a fairly long time before losing it to RVD, and his being part of Fortune wasn't bad either. But the fact they tried to make AJ look and act like someone so opposite of who he is makes this one stand out in my book. But I can't really complain. After all, AJ Styles' mini Flair is Citizen Kane compared to the Claire Lynch storyline.
This baby is coming, and I need you to do the right thing, AJ!
Number 4. Rikishi. In late 1999, Stone Cold Steve Austin had to get neck surgery, so he was written off TV in the most dramatic way possible, by getting hit with a frickin' car! For the next several months, all anyone asked was, who was behind the sordid act? What kind of monster got behind the wheel and mowed down an innocent man? Fans got their answer in 2000, when then fan favorite Rikishi revealed that it was him, Austin. It was him all along.
I didn't do it for me. I did it for The Rock. What?
Having Rikishi proclaim that he was the one behind the wheel never quite felt right. Here was a guy who, just moments before the reveal, was the thong-wearing jolly fat man. Not comic relief per se, but not really one to be taken seriously either. And now we're supposed to buy him in the main event as this sadistic no-goodnik who would risk ending someone's career? But the worst was yet to come. It turns out that while Rikishi was the one who hit Austin with a car, he only did it under the order of Triple H, who everyone with half a brain assumed was the guy responsible to begin with. Thanks for just delaying the inevitable, guys. So here you have a guy who turned heel just to wind up being relegated to a stooge to the real villain, and not even a very consistent stooge at that. This turn benefited virtually no one, much less the person who actually turned heel. I'm not surprised they just avoided this whole ordeal when Rikishi went to the Hall of Fame.
Rikishi was a gentle giant who loved to have fun. Oh, and once he tried to f***ing kill a guy.
Number 3. Goldberg. 2000 was a banner year for WCW if that banner were to read, "Going for the record in bad decision making." Goldberg's heel turn probably would have been the worst decision of them all had David Arquette not won the world title that same year. At the Great American Bash, Goldberg returned from an injury and turned on Kevin Nash, joining the New Blood. The same Goldberg who was considered WCW's answer to Steve Austin, one of the biggest babyfaces in company history, the guy who had the streak. Now just another cog in a massive stable that was nothing more than a wink and a nod to the smart marks watching at home. And what were some of Goldberg's biggest moments after turning heel? The moments that made this gamble all worth it? Did he dominate the main event scene? Did he win another world title? Well, no, he did none of these things, but he did feud with Kevin Nash for a bit. Oh, and he ate some paper. No, really, that was about the only highlight of that whole period. Eating paper. Then he turned face again in record time, got hurt, and then WCW got bought out. Well, thanks for the effort, big guy. Can't wait to see you in that blonde wig in a couple of years. Number 2. Sting. You could argue that both of Sting's heel turns, one in WCW, one in TNA, were both pretty bad. But at least in TNA, his run as the leader of the main event Mafia was somewhat interesting. When it comes to the worst, you just have to give his heel run in WCW the nod, both in execution and in lifespan. It was 1999. Hulk Hogan had just turned face, but in the weeks leading up to Fall Brawl, everyone was wondering if Hogan's change of heart was the real deal. Could Hogan be trusted to fight a fair match against Sting? Could Lex Luger be trusted to do whatever the hell it was he was doing in this match? They might as well have just rename the pay-per-view Who Can You Trust-A-Mania. Everyone and their mother saw what was coming. After all, why would they have Hogan turn face after 3 years only to have him turn heel again weeks later? But in the main event, Sting showed his true colors and revealed he was the untrustworthiest of them all. Why should the fans have booed Sting? Sure, Hogan was a face at this point, but he just spent the last 3 years trying to kill WCW. Sting was the company's savior. Now we're supposed to feel bad for Hogan getting attacked by Sting just because he changed the color of his tights? Not only that, but for a guy who did nothing but fight bad guys his entire career, I'm surprised he never figured out how to act like one himself. Here in this tag match against Hogan and Flair, he's not doing anything heelish, he's doing the same spots he always does, and the fans are cheering him on anyway. Say what you will about WCW at the time, but at least they knew when they made a bad decision every once in a while. Ahem. And the #1 worst heel turn of all time is... Stone Cold Steve Austin. To me, there is no question why this is the worst heel turn of all time. Here you have Steve Austin, one of the biggest babyfaces in company history, whose entire legacy at that point was built on being anti-establishment, somehow now shaking hands with Vince McMahon at the end of WrestleMania 17. Was it shocking? Was it memorable? Yes, absolutely it was. But once the shock factor wore off, fans were left questioning the entire reason behind this giant twist. These two had made each other's lives a living hell for years. Now all of a sudden they're allies? Why? What did Austin have to gain from working alongside McMahon? He did not need his help in beating up The Rock with a chair at WrestleMania. He could have done that himself. He didn't need McMahon's help to win the title. He'd done it a bunch of times on his own before. It made no sense. It was a swerve for the sake of a swerve, and Russo wasn't even part of the company at this point. I will admit though, early on in the run, Austin's time as a heel created some great moments, especially with Vince and Kurt Angle in their backstage segments. Austin had become such an ass kisser that he refused to be one-upped by another ass kisser in Angle. Those segments were actually pretty funny, but that's another big problem. Fans weren't laughing at Austin and company, they were laughing along with them because deep down, fans still liked Austin. Stone Cold did a 360 at the Invasion pay-per-view, appearing to be a good guy again, but ultimately siding with the Alliance. Since that storyline boiled down to a lame feud between the McMahons, having Austin go up against Vince once again sort of made sense. But even that argument's invalid because why would Steve Austin fight for WCW? The same company that kept him down and fired him via FedEx when he was injured. The same company that motivated Austin to become the pissed-off character that made him famous. Did anyone in this company vet this stupid storyline for more than 10 seconds before pulling the trigger? When you consider where Austin was in his career at the time, you could maybe have argued that a heel turn would have done him some good, but to many fans, myself included, the timing just wasn't right. The circumstances of this heel turn, who he allied with, the nature of his character, and the fact that it was all for naught the second the Alliance lost at Survivor Series makes this the worst heel turn in all of wrestling. Got any heel turns you think belong on this list? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirt. I'm Brian Zane. Hang on a second. Hello?
Hello, is this Brian Zane?
Yes? Who is this?
You'll find out soon enough. Why don't you come to my office? We need to talk.